Hello everyone! Welcome to a new fantasy story of mine. Here it goes. Willow was very happy that morning, very sunny and nice, the weather seemed to be. She had a lovely morning with a cup of tea and some homemade muffins with her partner as they watched the sun rise. Willow went out that morning to the cabin next to the next forest over, to say hello to her dragon friend Hemlock, who has been staying with them more or less there. She found him nestled in a large ball of dragon, golden scales with only two long horns sticking out of the pile. She ran up and gave his big dragon claw a hug. "Morning, Hemlock! How was your first night here? Was it too small a space?" she asked. The pile of scales began to move, and out popped Hemlock's face from the bundle. He smiled. "Ah, yes, Willow, I wasn't expecting you to see me this early. I was just soaking up the sunlight. My night was fantastic, under the moon and stars. The space was just right. Even though you guys weren't here, in the cabin, it seemed quite like home. I had watched afar at the tower and felt like I had a family," he said, and closed his eyes, still smiling widely. Willow could see the scales on his face moving upwards as his expression became more full of smiles. Willow spoke. "Well, you're very kind. I am so happy that you feel happy here. If you ever want to spend the night or day by our tower as well, you may. Maybe guarding the roof. Who knows? Whatever makes you feel happiest. I hope the small distance doesn't seem lonely to you," she said. Hemlock shook his head. "No, not at all, Willow. This is perfectly fine. I was thinking of searching for some breakfast. Want to join me?" Hemlock said. Willow nodded her head. "Yes, of course. I don't know what you eat, though, but I can come along and give you company." They headed off into the forest, and Hemlock led her where he needed, to the pines. He walked and crunched along the pine needle paths of the forest until he reached a tree. "There, Willow. These are my favorite. Dragons like myself, especially those more like me, who have lived amongst the pine trees for centuries, enjoy these. I don't know about others, actually, but this is what I've lived off, mainly, from my old forest." He grabbed a handful of pine cones in his claws. "Pine nuts and pine cones," he said. "Especially the pine cones, I can easily find these," he said happily as he tossed the lot of cones up in the air and crunched them in his large dragon jaws. He offered one to Willow. Willow spoke. No, sorry, I don't eat that, but it's good for me to know what I can surprise you with," she said, and winked. Hemlock smiled. "Ooh, holidays are approaching, Willow. A big barrel of pine cones, maybe," he said and laughed. Willow smiled. "Exactly what I was thinking, but apparently you don't want that as a surprise." Hemlock rolled his eyes. He was excited to be able to celebrate the holidays with someone other than just the trees. Hemlock eventually collected a bunch of pine cones and gobbled them up on the way home while he walked with Willow. The end.